Voidkind by Dune, as it's pronounced. Last time I talked about them, I was a little troubled because I didn't fully... Because initially I thought it was divine, but just without an I, but it's just actually Dune. It's the true cult V, which is supposed to be more pronounced like a U. Now, that being, which is also interesting, given that I just talked very highly about something else called Dune a while back. Will this live up to an even similar kind of hype? Given there's not a really huge name to this band, they're not as huge of a name right now as that particular thing, maybe, you know. I'm not expecting y'all to, hop right on board with this as that one. Though I think it may have some slight things with it when they started out, at least. Because I told their last record was actually a prequel to their debut, conceptually. And I did check that out, and that was good. But I ended up liking the follow-up record better. Now, this is another story, though. This is kind of... I didn't... Like, the first couple records felt more darker, sludgier, and definitely more in vein towards a more... If Tool went more in the vein of your Mastodon, Baroness, and the Ocean, or also formerly known as the Ocean Collective, kind of a thing, or at least that's what Meltdown has said about it, and to some degree I understand where he's coming from in that regard, but I do understand the more Tool, somewhat Cody and Cambria, but really more specific, but I would go even further and say a weird somewhere in between of At the Drive-In and Mars Volta, while they weren't completely able to shed At the Drive-In. Kind of a thing. Or at least that's what I got from their last record. This is heavier. This is I would even go as far as to say this definitely has a little more ISIS to it. In terms of like the vocal delivery. Being a little more roar. Having a little more roar to it, and it's definitely way darker and definitely sludgier in sound, in tone, by comparison to the last record. Though the only moments where the cleans finally start coming in and reminding me of what I liked and got into the band isn't until, to me reaching for Telos. And then I think they found a way to balance out as the record went on, even the moments that some people feel are like, I disagree with Mental Meltdown in saying that this is an unnecessary, they actually sound good to me. And yeah, there's not as much going on, but it's not, like, you make it sound like it's way more unnecessary, like whatever the hell the digital release version of the latest Tool record was unnecessary, and no. Not even close to something like that. He didn't really say that exactly, per se, but the way he talked about it and said it just got nowhere and all that stuff, that I would put on the digital release tracks for the Tool record. This is nowhere near that bad. Even I'll admit those are bad and that you should just listen to the track listing of the physical release. There's a reason for it, especially since that's what we had to go off of, or the physical releases prior to finally releasing them digitally, or at least if you did digitally, it was some off thing to have to listen to them with, since they never could commit digitally until recently. Though sadly, the digital conversions of certain records don't come across as well as their freaking CD counterparts, which makes me very sad. Seriously, what the hell did you do? Like, I'm sorry, but of all the songs that are meant to be booming kind of loud in the best way possible for your ears, that was already done well, that was... I'm sorry, I'm going on a little tangent with how the digital versions of of my favorite track off of Lateral is were butchered to shit, or my favorite moments leading into it, especially the beginning of, like, you don't go this nice loud thing and then it'll stick to that exact moment, you know, like, trust me, if you've heard the digital version of Parabola, you get it, and you're very pissed with how that was handled. But anyways, I do like some of these Path of Ithers, a decent one. I do think my personal favorite to me on here, besides is more Adobe of the Perfect Soul, and I do think the final two tracks do enough to kind of end this interestingly, even though I do think it's the final track in Cobalt Sun Necropolis does sort of have, I mean, there is some nice ambient things that happen at the to end the record track, but it's the way the band kind of cuts off from their heavier moment just kind of abruptly. That was, if not for the ambient stuff happening at the end, I might have to close things out on a better note than just the band just kind of cutting themselves off. If they just cut themselves off completely and stopped there, I'd have been like, why the fuck did you do that? And it would have ruined the experience of this entire record had they not decided to just cut off and then just let the ambience take you out, you know. At least have something to take us out in a way that actually gives us a good note to end on than the way the band just shut themselves off. It's weird to me, but other than that, I still enjoyed this record. I can't say I like it as much as their last one that I put super highly, but I'm still willing to say, regardless of that, it's good enough. I would at least give it Horns. I would still give it like a high keep it real to solid horns up. Don't know if I can put it give it a strong horns up, nor can I say master class just yet right now. I feel like they're still working on some things, and I feel like if they can find a balance of what they did do here, that's worked. And apparently, from what I'm told, he tried to fix some issues that they felt they had, and they wanted to fix it here. But I don't know if this is exactly what I wanted, because sonically you had something good. I think you just needed to find a better production and just improve upon it in a similar way to what we got from the last. How I would say I felt about the last Svalbard record, in the sense that was actually kind of a better expansion and improvement with the right kind of major label production backing, which they do have, and it somewhat shows here, but I think the Lord Dying record's better than this. If I'm going to have something that I can kind of compare this to, that I've recently listened to, that would be it. So, yeah. If you're going to go with something that is comparable to Macedon, Baroness, all that, hell, I get Isis-y vibes, at least the more toolish moments of Isis. So, yeah. But, in that sort of that progressive metal that's of the more extreme kind that leans into post-metal kind of vein, this is pretty good. At least in that sort of progressive atmospheric style of sludge metal that leans into the post-metal. That's what I would say this does pretty well. And I still like it for what it is, especially if you're like a more extreme idea of what Tool, Coheed and Cambria, and like that. And like I said, at the drive-in, and like Mars Volta, while they were still, when they were just being a more progressive at the drive-in pre Francis the Mute, then you're probably gonna like what this band is doing. Though I do think the comparisons to being in that more Macedon-y, early Macedon Baroness and the Ocean vein is definitely very present here. Just, I wouldn't say it's nearly as enjoyable and as dynamically as interesting to me as I would say the Lord Dying record was, or eventually wound up being by the time I had reviewed it. And it still kind of is, from what I'm thinking of, since I managed to mention it. So, still stuck with me on that regard. But what did you guys think of the new Dune record? I I still like it enough. It's definitely in the higher rankings. I just don't know if I'm going to make it in my year-end list. It'll probably make high honorable mentions for sure, at the very least for 2024. But what did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.